Okay, so I'm out here in my Kunekune pig pasture, and I'm going to show you what it looks like and explain really the Kunekunes don't root that people say is a lie, but there's actually a reason for it when they do root. Because typically they actually will not root. It just depends on your pastures and your forage. So I'm going to show you. I'm walking through my pasture. It's decent size. I actually move it. This is a field of clover, and so the pasture is really needing to be moved. So you can see it is well eaten down. We've got like the clover that they have eaten in here, they've eaten it right down to just the stalks. Really, I should have moved my fence a couple days ago, but there was still stuff out here that they could clean up. And so what they're doing is they're eating the clover. They are stepping on the forage that's out here growing, the grass, the clovers, and they're causing a nice like carpet, pushing it down into the ground, which protects the soil and it encourages organic matter. And so I can dig in here and see there is a nice layer and a mat here. And so like this year, we had our driest summer in 80 years, and our pastures actually did really great. I mean, we had 2 months this spring, May and June, at least 2 months with no rain, and people's pastures were really suffering. So anyway, ours did not, and part of that is because we do regenerative agriculture practice. And so this, doing how we do it with moving the cattle and our pigs regularly, the cattle get moved daily, then they are not eating it too low. They're causing this nice mat on top of the soil, which holds in the moisture and encourages organic matter and worms and other beneficials. And so ours did really well during the drought. So anyway, if you can see out here, this pasture is not rooted up. This is where they took some of the, they actually made themselves a bed. They took some of the grasses and chewed them off and carried them over here and made themselves a nice little bed with the grass. And so if you look, my camera right now won't let me turn it around, or else I would. So we've got these tall shoots of these grasses here. And so at the top, there's empty seed heads. So these ones, maybe they didn't get to, but, so here's one. This is, I think it was ryegrass. So pigs, they, a lot of the reasons people love the Kunekunes is because they don't root. And I have got a herd of about 30 of them. I raise them for grass-fed meat, and they do not root. But then there's people that say that's such a lie, it's a farce, they absolutely do root. There's a reason for that. Pigs actually do not like grass. They will not eat it. They'll eat it as a last resort. They prefer clover. They do really, really good and gain really well on clover. They also prefer alfalfa. They will do the dandelions and burdock, all kinds of different naturally growing forages, and what people might call weeds are actually herbs. And so they will eat them before they ever get to the grass. They do not like grass. They don't prefer it. So if you've got, like, some people will say, well, my yard, I have so much yard and there is so much grass out there that's perfect. Actually, that is not a good idea, because they don't love the grass. They'll eat it out of desperation as a last resort. And actually they will avoid that and start rooting to get to the roots and to the grubs before they'll ever decide to graze on the grass. So if yours are rooting, it's because you have grass and you don't have enough other high protein feeds. So grass is a starch, it's more sugary, but they don't like it. They want and they need the high protein forages, such as the clovers and the alfalfas. And so don't bother giving your pigs hay that is grass either. They will not eat grass hay. They will eat alfalfa and clover really well. And so they'll eat it dry, but then we also in the wintertime feed high moisture alfalfa and clover bales, because we have cattle. We do high moisture for them for winter forage, but my pigs eat it really well, and they maintain a weight on it really well. And so like for instance, we also do sorghum Sudan high moisture bales for winter, and my pigs, you'd think they'd eat that with the high sugar content in it, but they don't. They won't eat it because it is a type of a grass. So even that we would actually think they would just devour that, they won't. So if your pigs are rooting, go look at what's growing in your pastures, and if there's a whole lot of grass, then they're going to root it up. So I'm going to show you now. So this is my pasture that they have been on, that they've been grazing for about, I don't know, 5 days now. It needs to be moved because all they've left is the stemmy grasses. They've eaten everything else that's in here. And so this is what it looked like before they got in here. This is a part, I have been continuously grazing this pasture throughout the entire spring and summer, and now into fall. And it's October 26th, is it today? I don't even know. October something. And we're still grazing, so we're easily going to graze to at the very least the 1st of November. But so this clover out here is what they've been eating on, and so we let them graze it down, and then and you can see how thick and lush it is. Look at this, it's beautiful. So that I'll put them out here and I'll let them graze it down. This is, I don't know how big this is. It's not even a quarter acre per section, but they're probably grazing a total of maybe 2 acres. And I have 30 pigs on that, and they do really great because I moved their fence. So I'll move them back over here, and this will probably last them a good 5 days or so, and then I will rotate down to the other end of the pasture and start them over again, because that has new regrowth on it, and it's continuously growing even in the cool weather of October. And so then we'll be able to graze, like I said, easily until November 1st. And if the weather stays decent, then I should be able to actually continue grazing my kunekunes on this. So this is what they do really well in. And so what they'll do too, I've noticed with the grasses, if they get a seed head, like this has a good sized seed head on it, what they'll do, they'll go through all the clover first and all the other things that might be out here. There's some hairy vetch. They really like the hairy vetch as well. Sometimes there will be like radishes or like a field turnip, and they love them. They eat those. But when they've eaten everything else and all that's left is the grass, they will stomp down on the grass stems, and they'll get to these seed heads and they'll eat the seed heads off, but they will leave the stems, the stalks, and the leaves from the grass because they don't like it. So that is to dispel the myth that the kunekunes do root. When people say they don't, they actually won't root. If you see my pastures, they are not rooted up because they're rotated, because they have plenty of clover and some alfalfa and other things out here, and so they have enough to eat. So if your pigs are rooting, that's a sign that there's too much grass, likely, or they have eaten. If there's no grass, they've eaten all the forage up and they are rooting out of desperation. I'm going to actually show you this pasture over here as well. This is kind of their main pasture over here. These ones, I only have them in during the growing season, right? Like probably the 1st of May to November or beyond. And this is their pasture that I winter them in. So if I go out here, they're all up there right now towards the barn. We need to do some end of summer, end of year cleanup up there. So this is mainly grass, and you can see how thick and lush this is. Actually, it's a beautiful grass pasture. Like, we need to put a couple of the horses out here to eat this grass, but they are out on this every single day, and it stays lush and thick because they don't eat this. So if you look down here, I don't know if you can see it. So there is clover. There's actually white clover that grows down in here, and it doesn't get real tall, but they will eat that. And so if they're out here grazing, they are eating on that white clover because there's still enough in the summer pastures for them to eat. They aren't rooting this up. But if I just had them in this lush, grassy pasture, they would slowly start to root it. And they actually struggle to root because of their small snouts. It's actually hard for them. So I know if I see any rooting out here, then they're hungry and they don't have enough. So Anyway, I've got to move my fence now, get the fence line there that I'm going to move down here and give them some more clover to eat for this week before I move it to the other end and start. I kind of go down the line and I'll move it section by section. Hey girl, hi. She's one of my toothy mamas. Hey, how are you? So anyway, I kind of get caught up in everything around me and get distracted. So that is just kind of an explanation of how I do my pasturing for my kunekunes. That my herd of 30, they do not root, and why they will root and why they don't root. So anyway, I'll probably do another video explaining some of my, at some point, how I move my fences, and I have a piggy gate. I call it the piggy portal, and I'll explain that, how I get them from one pasture to the next. So, all right, we'll see you in the next video.